Good morning. Okay, so today we are going to make a foldable, and we're going to use our textbook for the information. So the first thing you're going to do is I've given you a piece of notebook paper, and we are going to start by folding it, the top of it, down to the middle. I have a triangle, but you'll have a circle probably. So do it to the middle of the circle. So that is one half. And then fold the next piece, the bottom piece, up to meet that same line. Fold it as straight as you can, getting it the sides lined up. And so your paper should look like this. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to, our book is called World Cultures and Geography, so that's what we're going to put up here. World Cultures and Geography, all the way across both flaps. And then we're going to do, we're on chapter 15 in your textbook. So this is chapter 15 that I'm looking at. So I'm going to write chapter 15, and we're going to do pages. The pages we're going to get our information from is pages 486 to 509. Okay? So after you've got this right here written, and again, I apologize for being left-handed. I know you can't see it as well when I'm writing. I can't help it. So now we're going to write Russia in English right here. We're going to go ahead and put a box around this. Okay. And then we're going to write Russia in their language. Kind of odd for us. You've got to do a backward N and a backward R. And then I'm going to also put a box around this. Okay? So now we're going to do, we're actually going to make two different flaps, titled two different flaps, and we're going to have, the first one is going to be Life in Russia, present day. So we're going to write Life in Russia, present day. Okay. And then we're going to go down here and we're going to write Life in Russia in the past. Okay, so you have two different flaps. Life in Russia present day and Life in Russia in the past. Okay, so now we're going to open it up on the top flap that says present day, and we are going to look at page 492 that's in chapter 15 of our book. And it's kind of hard for me to fit all of this into the camera. So the first thing we're going to do is up here, we're going to write page 492, and then I'm going to write Siberia, and it's actually the eastern part of Europe. I bet you guys have heard of Siberia. Eastern part, sorry, Russia, I said Europe. Eastern part of Russia. Okay, so I'm putting that in parentheses. And then it is covered, and this is something that we had gone over back when we were studying Canada. It is covered in permafrost. You all remember that word, I hope. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and write the definition of permafrost. And we're going to write a layer of permanently frozen ground under the soil and rocks. Okay, so it talks about that here in the bottom, on the bottom paragraph. It says Siberia's taiga is swampy because, like the tundra, the region is covered in permafrost, a layer of permanently frozen ground that lies beneath the surface, soil, and rocks. Permafrost covers about 2/3 of Siberia. So I doubt they're growing very many crops there, huh? Okay, so now we're going to go to page 493, and it talks about Russia's resources. So it says most of Russia's vast coal, oil, and natural gas reserves are in Siberia. Reserves are the estimated total amount of a resource in a certain area. Russia's coal and rich deposits of ore, iron ore fuel the country's steel industry. Machines made from steel are used to build Russia's automobiles, railroads, ships, and many consumer products. Okay, so I'm going to write over here, page 493, and I'm going to write Russia's natural resources. Sorry about that. And then right here, I'm going to put soil and forest land. And then over here, I'm going to put minerals and energy. And then also, they have fish. So down here, it talks about Russia's vast coastlines and access to the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans make Russia's fishing industry an important part of the country's economy. So we're going to write fishing right here. All right. And then, as you all know, I'm a good artist. So I'm going to draw a little example of a forest. And I'm going to also draw a diamond. So this will be the other natural resources. And we're going to have to do a fish. So this ought to be interesting. Okay, so I know I'm awful, but you know, you guys can, y'all know it's a fish. Okay, so now we're going to go on to page 503, and we're going to be talking about where people live. So most people live in Western Russia, then in Siberia due to the climate, because we just talked about how 2/3 of Siberia is permafrost, so it is extremely cold. The two largest cities in Russia are Moscow and St. Petersburg. Okay, so we're going to write page 503, and then I'm going to put most people live in Western Russia, and we're going to write the European side, because this is the side that's closest to Europe. And then we're going to put Moscow or St. Petersburg. Okay. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to page 505. And we're going to talk about the Trans-Siberian Railroad. This is actually a train that has a track of approximately 3,000 miles. The way I know that is because on my key right here, it gives me on the length of about 2 inches for 1,000 miles. So when I put it all together, it is approximately 3,000 miles, which is a lot of track. So we're going to write page 505 right here, and we're going to write Trans-Siberian Railroad. And we're going to draw a box around that. Okay, and then we're going to write connects to continents and it is the longest in the world. Okay, then I'm going to do a little bit more artwork. And I'm actually going to draw a little train track right there. And then I'm going to draw my little train. And then we're going to go to page 506. And this talks about the religion and the arts in Russia. And it says, Russia is widely known for its wooden architecture and wood churches. There are outdoor museums that display their wood art. And when Christianity was accepted in Russia in AD 988, it greatly influenced art. Many churches contain icons, which were religious images, usually painted on paneled wood. So they use a lot of wood for their art there. They're also, I know you've heard of these ballets, Swan Lake, Sleeping Beauty, and the Nutcracker. So all of these originated in Russia. So they do have a lot of culture there. So we're going to write page 506, and we're going to put religion, and then over here we're going to have music and arts. Okay. All right, and then over here we're going to put Eastern Orthodox Christianity. And then right here, my little artwork again. And then we're going to talk about the ballets over here. So we're going to write ballet. And we're going to put Swan Lake. And the Nutcracker. And then we're going to write famous composer. And that is going to be Tchaikovsky. Hopefully you can read that. If you're having trouble with anything, reading anything I have, then you need to refer back to the book. So now we're going to draw a line because we are in the middle of our foldable. And I should have had you do this before we started writing, but I forgot. So we're going to draw a black, or a line. I'm going to draw a black line all the way across, okay? So now we have done the present day, okay? This is our present day Russia. So now we're going to continue, and on this half, we're going to be doing the past Russia. So now we're going to go back to page 494, and it talks about the rise of Russia, and it talks about the first Slav state, which is Slovakian. Kievan Rus was made up of several city-states, with Kiev as its center. This settlement emerged in the 800s AD. Kiev was the dominant city in the state of Kievan Rus for the next 2 centuries. Okay, and then it talks about over here, well, let me get to this first. Okay, so let's do page 494. Page 494, and we're going to write early history And then we're going to write Ethan Russ was the first Slav state led by famous princes such as Ivan the Terrible. Okay, and so we're going to talk about czars and empires. The czar is a powerful leader, and so here it says, the most powerful of these princes, Ivan IV, known as Ivan the Terrible, defeated the Mongols and declared himself the Tsar of Russia. Tsar is a Russian for Caesar, or powerful leader. Okay, so we're going to talk about that really quick here. We're going to write down page 495, and then we're going to put Tsar, and I'm going to go ahead and put a box around that. And it's spelled kind of funny. You don't say the C. And then we're going to put powerful ruler here. And then we're going to do, right here, we're going to write, Romanov was a royal family in Russia. So we're going to write Romanov family. We're going to put royal in parentheses. And then we're going to write down Peter the Great. He was one of the czars. Peter the Great. And so I'm going to do some little brackets right here. Oh, I'm sorry, I left one out. Empress. Catherine the Great. And we'll put these are all well-known leaders. All right. So remember that the purpose of this activity is that you need to go into your textbook, and I'm only highlighting certain parts, but it's important that you study and read this part of the textbook, because it is on your test, which is why I'm covering the things I'm covering. Okay, so we're going to go to page 497. And it talks about the Soviet Union, and the Bolsheviks had support among city workers. Inspired by the writings of a German thinker named Karl Marx, they remade Russia into a communist state. And then it talks about up here, Tsar Nicholas was forced to step down. A new government was installed, but it could not maintain power. By the end of 1917, a group of revolutionaries known as the Bolsheviks had seized control of the government. So this is when the Soviet Union started. Okay, so we're going to write page 497, and we're going to put in 1917 to 1918, a group of revolutionaries called the Bolsheviks took control of the government executed, which was one of our vocabulary words, executed the Tsar and created the Soviet Union. And we're going to put communist, which we talked about yesterday. All right, and then we're going to go to page 499. And it says right here, talks about the Soviet collapse. In the 1980s, a new Soviet leader, Mikhail Gorbachev, came to power and implemented new policies. So he, which means openness, glasnost, openness, was an attempt to allow the people in the USSR and its satellite countries to have more social and political freedoms. Okay, so we're going to put we're going to write 499. I'm going to put 1991. The Soviet Union collapsed and then we're going to put in parentheses no more communism and then we're going to put Russian Federation began. Okay. All right. And then we're going to put a little note here on the bottom that says today Vladimir, I know y'all have heard of him, hopefully, Vladimir Putin is president. So he is the president right now of Russia. Okay, so we have, you have all of this completed, and so when you fold it like this, you're going to end up gluing this blank side right here, that's the back, into your GeoJournal, and then you'll be able to open it like this for your foldable. And remember that if there's anything that doesn't make sense or that you're unclear about, I didn't want to go into a lot of detail. I wanted you to go in and look at your textbook and make sure that it makes sense to you so that you're ready for our test. All right, thank you.